Hello, Midnights. We hope you enjoy our stories. Next up, a comprehensive review and contextual analysis of Dean Koontz's The Eyes of Darkness. Let us know where you are listening from, and don't forget to subscribe. Dean Ray Koontz is a prolific American author, celebrated for blending psychological thrillers, horror, science fiction, mystery, and fantasy. Born on July 3, 1945, in Everett, Pennsylvania, Koontz. His difficult childhood, marked by an abusive alcoholic father, profoundly shaped his writing, which often features themes of resilient protagonists, the nature of evil, and the redemptive power of love and faith. Koontz graduated from Shippensburg State College in 1967 and initially worked as an English teacher and counselor before dedicating himself fully to writing. Early in his career, to maintain a high output and navigate genre marketing, he published under a multitude of pseudonyms, including David Axton, Brian Coffey, K.R. Dwyer, and, significantly for this novel, Lee Nichols. His breakthrough came with the 1977 novel The Face of Fear, but he cemented his status as a master of suspense with subsequent bestsellers like Phantoms and Watchers. Koontz is known for his signature style of inserting quirky, optimistic, and often metaphysical elements into high-stakes, terrifying scenarios. His body of work consistently explores the triumph of good over malevolent forces, often contrasting pure-hearted characters with complex, intelligent villains. Dean Koontz's 1981 thriller, The Eyes of Darkness, originally published under the pseudonym Lee Nichols, is a work that initially gained moderate success but was catapulted into the global consciousness decades later due to a hauntingly specific fictional element. It is a novel that seamlessly blends the primal fear of losing a child with a chilling, large-scale government conspiracy and the terror of biological warfare. The story centers on Tina Evans, a stage producer in Las Vegas whose life is shattered by the presumed death of her young son, Danny, in a remote camping bus accident a year prior. The narrative is set in motion when Tina begins receiving strange, inexplicable messages suggesting the impossible. A terrifying message scrawled on his bedroom chalkboard, "Not dead," is the first breadcrumb in a trail of psychological terror and suspense. This initial supernatural event serves to validate Tina's intuition over the official, rational narrative. Driven by a mother's relentless hope and increasingly convinced that she is being stalked by shadowy figures, Tina embarks on a desperate quest to uncover the truth. She teams up with Elliot Stryker, a pragmatic lawyer with a crucial background in Army intelligence. Their investigation leads them down a perilous path, pitting them against a shadowy, all-powerful government organization known as Project Pandora. This project, a covert biological warfare initiative, is responsible for developing weapons and hiding secrets so profound they are willing to silence anyone who gets close, including a grieving mother and her attorney. The central mystery of Danny's disappearance eventually converges with the much larger and more terrifying threat posed by Project Pandora and their creation, a devastating, man-made biological weapon. Beyond the sensationalized prediction angle, The Eyes of Darkness is a quintessential early Koontz novel exploring several of his recurring thematic obsessions, the mother-son bond and the paranormal element. The core emotional engine of the story is the fierce, protective maternal love of Tina Evans. This love is the only force capable of standing against the systemic, dehumanizing evil of the military-industrial complex. The novel elevates this bond by incorporating the paranormal. Danny's psychic abilities. The virus's sole survivor, Danny, is revealed to possess powerful telepathic and psychokinetic abilities. Koontz explains that the virus experimentation did not create these powers, but rather augmented existing latent abilities, a trope common in 1970s and 80s science fiction. These powers are the narrative's primary mechanism for hope and rescue, allowing Danny to psychically communicate with Tina and ultimately trigger his own escape. For instance, Tina's conviction to continue her search is confirmed by the psychic message and later telepathic direction. Danny's going to tell us where he is. He's going to try, I think. I sensed that in the dream. These supernatural elements justify Tina's faith over Elliot's initial skepticism, championing instinct and the human spirit over rigid logic. Narrative structure and pacing. Critics often note the uneven structural shift of the novel. The first half is a slow-burn supernatural mystery, characterized by subtle psychic hints and a growing sense of paranoia. The second half pivots entirely into a high-octane techno-thriller chase, where the focus shifts from the personal mystery to the grand conspiracy. Philosophical and ethical critiques. The novel serves as a powerful critique of societal mistrust, of government, tapping directly into the post-Watergate American public's deep distrust of authority. Project Pandora's evil. Project Pandora is portrayed as a rogue secret police force operating above the law, a symbol of governmental overreach committed to murder in the name of national security. This theme resonates strongly with a Western audience prone to deep state suspicions. Utilitarianism versus deontology. The novel dramatically foregrounds the core philosophical tension between utilitarianism and deontology. Project Pandora's scientists and military leaders operate under a flawed utilitarian calculus, believing that sacrificing a few lives, including their test subjects, is justified for the strategic advantage of developing the perfect weapon. This perspective is directly contrasted with Tina's absolute deontological moral conviction that every single human life, especially her son's, has inherent and inviolable worth. The novel decisively champions the deontological view, framing Project Pandora's amoral calculations as the definition of evil. The novel's explosion into modern relevance stems almost entirely from the fictional biological weapon Wuhan 400, which in later editions, 1989 onwards, is stated to have been created in a lab outside Wuhan, China. A character explains, "They call the stuff Wuhan-400 because it was developed at their rDNA labs outside the city of Wuhan." Publication history and editorial change. The key to debunking the prophecy lies in the novel's original publication history and the prevailing geopolitical climate. The original 1981 edition, published under the pseudonym Lee Nichols, named the virus Gorky 400, stating it was developed at a Soviet-era lab near the city of Gorky, now Nizhny Novgorod, Russia. This initial naming was a direct reflection of Cold War anxieties. The subsequent revision around 1989 was a pragmatic, editorial choice, with the Soviet Union collapsing and China rising. As a new geopolitical and economic power, the name was changed to Wuhan 400 to maintain the story's contemporary relevance. Scientific inaccuracies of Wuhan 400. The scientific properties of Wuhan 400 are designed to create a perfect weapon for the novel's plot, making them scientifically incomparable to COVID-19 and solidifying the argument for pure editorial coincidence. Lethality and incubation. Wuhan 400 is not a slowly spreading public health crisis but a battlefield weapon with a terrifying 100% kill rate, with the sole exception of Danny. Dr. Dombey states, "Once infected, no one lives more than 24 hours. Wuhan 400 has a 100% kill rate. Target and function. Wuhan 400 is a highly specific neurological weapon that attacks and destroys the brainstem, unlike COVID-19, which primarily causes respiratory disease." The fluke of the name. The only substantial similarity is the geographical term Wuhan. The uncanny nature of this coincidence provided instant viral traction decades later, effectively transforming the book from an obscure title into a cultural artifact of the infodemic that followed the real-world pandemic. The scientist as the moral center, Dr. Dombey. The novel avoids a purely black-and-white portrayal of the conspiracy by introducing Dr. Carlton Dombey, the lead scientist on Project Pandora. Dombey initially represents the chilling detachment of technocratic evil, driven by ambition, and justifying his atrocities through a twisted rationale of scientific necessity. However, he is the character who ultimately experiences a crisis of conscience and aids Tina and Elliot. His redemption serves Koontz's recurring theme that individual morality can ultimately overcome institutional corruption. The significance of the setting. The final confrontation takes place in a secret, isolated research facility hidden deep in the high Sierra Mountains. The remote, cold, and forbidding environment symbolizes the moral isolation and chilling secrecy of Project Pandora, emphasizing that the great evils of the modern world are often concealed not in dark cities, but in vast, legally unreachable wildernesses. Original critical reception prior to 2020, The Eyes of Darkness was generally considered a competent, though not top-tier early effort from Koontz. It was a solid example of the late Cold War techno-thriller genre, notable mainly for its blending of supernatural elements with espionage tropes, but was overshadowed by his later, more polished bestsellers like Watchers. Its initial reception focused more on the thrilling aspects of Tina's personal quest than on the geopolitical elements. The Eyes of Darkness is a potent, high-stakes thriller whose modern significance lies not in its literary finesse, but in its profound, accidental ability to blur the lines between fiction and reality. The fictional Wuhan 400 serves as an unintentional artifact of the post-truth era, a narrative vehicle for deep-seated skepticism about authority and the seductive power of the conspiracy theory. The novel's themes of governmental overreach and the public search for truth versus official narrative resonate profoundly with the last decade of world events. The book's fictional secret organization, Project Pandora, parallels the increased global awareness of mass surveillance programs such as those revealed by the Snowden leaks, fueling public distrust in intelligence agencies and the existence of deep state operations. The desperate nature of Tina Evans's search for the truth, fighting an official narrative that declared her son dead, mirrors the public's struggle to discern factual reporting from conspiracy theories about the virus's origins and severity, an ideological battle intensified by the online infodemic during the COVID-19 era. Most strikingly, the novel's bioweapon threat found its chilling real-world analog in the COVID-19 pandemic, starting 2019, as well as significant prior outbreaks like the 2014 to 2016 West African Ebola epidemic. While the fictional virus's mechanics were entirely different, the event validated the underlying fear of a catastrophic pathogen and turned the specific place name into a flashpoint for misinformation. Finally, Koontz's critique of the ethics of science unbound remains a crucial warning. Project Pandora's pursuit of a perfect weapon reflects contemporary ethical debates surrounding rapid technological advancements in areas like CRISPR gene editing, which raise urgent questions about the moral limits of biological research. The novel's narrative is a powerful reminder of how quickly the lines between pulp fiction and perceived truth can erode when a frightened public searches for simple, satisfying answers to complex, global traumas. The novel's true lasting contribution lies in its stark, enduring question: what ethical limits should constrain scientific and governmental power, and what value must always be placed on the individual human spirit?